What are you doing?
Waiting for this thing to air up. We have so many ideas, dude.
What's one of them?
We're gonna move the radiator to the front.
The radiator is in the front.
No, it's back here. Oh, you can't really open it, but
Jose, this is an Integra. The engines are in the front. The radiators are in the front. How are you going to move the radiator from the back to the front?
I can see it literally. It's literally right there. You can see it? Look at it. Or am I wrong?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Right?
I see a hand. Oh. So it's finally time. We're gonna start working on this. We're gonna push this in. We're gonna start working on it. He already ran. We drove it from Ensenada to TJ, and then we towed it from TJ to here, Oregon, United States, obviously. But in case we got followers that don't know, so it was like a $1,200 mile journey. Yeah, but we drove it 50 miles. No, it was more. It was like an hour and a half that we drove it, and then from there we towed it. We crossed the border and we towed it all the way in up here northwest. So we know it runs and drives, but we're gonna go through it because they built it in Mexico. This was a project that we always wanted to do, but we never had time. And then we know and we followed the guy that built it. This is originally a 99 Acura Integra GSR, and they did a engine on the rear. So yeah.
Not for real. Should we put a cover on it real quick? Yeah. Okay.
All right, fellas, this is how he ended up. It turned out great. We're not professionals, but at least we can make him look decent. You guys, I'll put a picture of how it looked before. It was pretty beat up, especially that quarter pounder was all the way in. But we got a new door, and with the door we aligned ourselves and everything came out good. So the whole car is pretty much ready to go. We just got to do the door panel on the inside, and then that's it. We gotta go get it delivered this weekend. So it blends in really good. I gotta do the mirror, put the mirror back from that other door, or actually it's in the trunk, and that should be it. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the plans and what came off, some of the stuff that came out. The fuel line, that's a fuel line. I say anything about the guy that built it because it is Mexico. We've been over there several times, well, a lot of times, and I know it's how hard it is to find parts. But yeah, that is pretty sketchy. There's got 2 clamps. It was cut in the motor and add-on coupler. It's got 4 clamps there, and then it has another clamp over there. So what they did is the banjo was just add-on, and the hard line, it's somewhere down there, so it was just ran over the top. And a big no-no was because the header it's down there, and they just added it through the top. So that's why that line is so hard, because it hardened got hot. So we're fixing stuff that we know it's sketchy. Another thing is in Mexico they don't run antifreeze, they just run water, canal water, wherever they find water. And these are the results. You can see how that's been, the rust ate that fitting there. I'm not sure if you guys can catch it, but That one right there. So we're gonna put another intake manifold, and another thing, there's a lot of things. This thing, they use that as a gasket. It's like a soda can, aluminum. Intake manifold has a bunch of silicone, you can see it there. And it's not because they cheap out, it's because they don't find the parts. Usually cars like this, they're not supposed to be in Mexico, so the auto parts have a hard time finding the parts. So that's why you do what you can to make it work. The plan on this car, we're gonna take this plexiglass window. They had an intake on it right here. This car, at first when the guy first built it, the original guy, his name was I can't remember his name, but the first guy that built it, he had it as a sleeper. You couldn't tell it was all-wheel drive. I mean, rear-wheel drive. And then somebody else bought it, but that same dude that bought it, they started, making it look, because the car started getting famous, and they started making it look like it was rear-wheel drive. Like, this is another example. Why would you do this? That's pretty. I don't know, like calling attention, pretty much. I don't know how you'd say it, but that's gonna go. We're gonna put the stock fenders back on. We're gonna put the glass window back on. We have that Integra in the backyard, that's a donor. We're gonna put the stock side skirts back on, and we are gonna make it 5-lug. If you guys don't know, the way to do this is this whole front clip. This is a front clip from a Integra. It's the front end of an Integra. They somehow measure it, and you put it on the back here, and you welded it. So we are gonna use the 5-lug conversion from the CRV. We're gonna put the 5-lug on the back, and then we're gonna hunt another 5-lug spindles, and we're gonna use them on the front. So we're gonna make this a 5-lug. Pretty much you need 2 sets of front spindles to put them on one on the front and one on the back, because the car does have a front end, what do you call it, subframe, and the strut tower.
Yeah.
Strut tower wheel well or what?
Yeah.
No?
Strut tower.
Okay. Well, what they do is they pretty much cut it from here, and then they took it to the back, and they welded it on there. So yeah, the spindles, it's the same thing as the front spindles. So the fenders are gonna go, front bumper stays, hood stays. Cut those, I don't know why, but they did that. Stock side skirts, we're gonna put the stock side skirts back on. Shift linkages, we gotta fix the shift linkage. It's not that bad, but we're gonna fix it. And it has a nice plexiglass here that we're gonna fix just to make it look dark, so you can't see the back. The header, we're gonna put another header. We're gonna actually turbocharge it. It's a B20 right now. It has a B20B, and like I said, this thing, it ran and drove fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Well, the engine ran and drove fine, but the issue was they were running a single cam distributor. Same thing, they probably couldn't find a B series distributor out there, so it would run, but it would run laggy and it would backfire and whatnot, because obviously the timing is different on the single cam. But we know the engine idle fine, so we don't have to do anything to the engine. It didn't overheat or anything, it drove fine. Shift linkage, we're gonna reinforce the shift linkage bars, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna turbocharge it. We are going to buy cousin Danny's turbo kit with his setup. We're gonna get his injectors, his ECU, and his turbo with the manifold, and we're gonna somehow make it fit in here. And that's all we're gonna do to it, so we can take it to the track and see what it runs. It does have a welded diff in it. Every time you turn it or you're pushing it, you can hear how it skips. We're gonna leave it like that, see how it does, And if we don't like it or it's shooting to the sides or whatever, we are gonna pull it out and just buy an LSD for it. So right now the plan is just to clean all out. Like we can take this out, we can take that out. Jose already washed it a little bit. It was filthy, but we're gonna wash it more. We're gonna cover this up, and we're gonna fit the radiator so it fits nice out here, and we're gonna put bigger fans, slim fans, because he had an ugly radiator, I don't know from what, and he had the stock fans that were big. We're gonna put the stock mounts back on it, because you can see those mounts, they've seen better days. All three of them are like that. They're like offsetted. That one, the one over there. We are gonna paint the engine bay or the trunk. We're gonna paint it black, just so you don't see all the welds and whatnot. So that's the plan. So we were supposed to just clean it up and get it running, and then Sam's idea was to pull the engine out to paint the engine bay or the trunk. So that's what we did. Then while we were doing that, I was like, let's check out the harness. And by the way, the engine's there.
Now we're into some deep shit.
Now we're into deep trouble. We opened a can of worms and now we're dealing with it. Oh, by the way, that Negro over there, that Jose, he's dealing with his he's dealing with his own problems too. You can't put some brakes on, right?
This bullshit, dude. Like, I already broke. Look, I just bought this and I broke it. Because I know it's me, but I don't know how I did it last time. Last time it was smooth. But
because the lines were off. So the engine came out. We're gonna work on the engine harness, but then the body harness is just, at this point, I'm just gonna say Mexico, yeah, you don't have parts, but this guy's just ragged everything, like they don't care. So we opened the can of worms and now we're gonna deal with it, because I really wouldn't feel comfortable driving this car around and then knowing it's gonna be in the back of my head that it could catch fire. The reason was because all these are melted. You guys can see those. Let me see if it catches it right there. So I don't know what they're for, and nothing, it's solder, everything is just taped. See, there's live wires everywhere. This fuse panel, or the fuse box, it was just a bunch of add-ons. Like any wire that they can think of, they just run into a fuse. That's good. That's why the car probably hasn't caught on fire. But we're gonna pull everything. We're gonna pull all the wiring off. We are only gonna leave the turn signals, turn lights, or running lights, turn signals, headlights, and none of the heater is gonna work. None of that's gonna work. We don't care about none of that. We're pretty much building this car for the 1/8 of the mile. We don't know how it's gonna shoot, if it's gonna launch straight or if it's gonna move, or if it's gonna have speed wall. We don't know nothing about it. We're gonna get some good coilovers and put those on and align the rear tires. And the goal is just we're shooting for the 1/8. We just want to have a fast 1/8 of a mile car. That's what we're shooting for. We just want a car that can, if we can break into the 6s, great. If we can stay on the 7s but consistent, great. So actually the car was only running on 2 wires, right, Sam? These are the only 2 wires that were going to the back of the engine harness, which I'm pretty sure is probably ignition and power, probably. Where are they? Because this is kind of like a standalone. It's 96, 97, 98, because this car's a 98. 96, 97, 98 OBD2A harness. And if you guys know all this thing will start. All you need is just a couple. This is what he had. He only had 2 wires, and that's all he had. And the car would start and run, but it would run like crap because, like I said, in the distributor. So I'm gonna pull everything out. I'm gonna redo everything. I'm gonna try to send direct wire from that harness into the only thing that we need to work is the temperature, RPM, and the speed sensor needs to work. And that's all we need. The speed sensor, we're gonna try to fix it, but it doesn't really need to. If it detects it from there to the ECU, if it stays working from there in that harness, it will work. But we're gonna make it work. I'm gonna try to make it work, because all it is, we just need 3 wires out here: speed sensor, RPM, and temperature. That's all I need to work. The gas gauge, I don't need it to work. We are probably gonna cancel so we don't run a lot of wires. We're probably gonna cancel that fuel tank on the front, and we're probably gonna run a fuel cell out here, so it's closer and everything's over here. So yeah, we went ahead and opened that can of worms, and we are dealing with worms. So we're gonna clean it all up, vacuum it, and get it all pressure washed, and then we're gonna clean the carpet, throw it back on. And like I said, that engine should be able to run as long as you get power from it's just ignition and computer power and ground, and that should be good to go. So I'm almost done I'm just trying to see where they go, but all they did is just they tapped and tapped and tapped.